Hey there guys, we've now got the unit data for Hyoh and Panthera Ultimus as well as Veritas of the Frost, and in this video we're going to be going over both of them, and because we're in a double feature video it might be longer than usual for my unit preview stuffs. So overall, just at a first look, it does seem like Hyoh is kind of the winner here. Veritas of the Frost seems pretty decent, but overall, bias aside, I do think Hyoh is certainly the better pick here. But they're both kind of different units. So the one thing right away we're going to look at is their categories. Keep in mind they don't have any special categories, meaning like rebellion, gathering, etc. Now that could potentially be an issue. As you can see, here's Veritas of the Frost. That could be an issue for team building down the road because we'll talk more about that when we get to Veritas of the Frost, because that's going to be more of a problem for him than this unit. Let's go over Hyoh first, though. So as far as stats and all, they're actually pretty high. He's actually got higher than usual attack power at 633 after full pots. Normally it's 625 at the highest, so that's pretty good. Pretty good. True Brave Shift, some innate resistances, innate immunities, pretty good. All the important stuff is covered, which is awesome. A lot of equipment access, pretty much just about everything except robes, which is nice. Now as far as the kit, the kit is pretty nice because just about everything in his kit is a tag chain, including his primary burst. There are a few skills in the shift form that are not tag chaining, but all his primary stuff is tag chaining, which is awesome. So he's got a 150 amplify, as kind of expected, multicast as expected. He's got fire and ice personal support in his kit, and we'll jump down real quick, he can AoE imbue the fire on demand. I'm super glad he has this. I've mentioned this before, how I don't like these partial support units that don't have this ability, but he does, and Veritas has the ice version as well. So that's kind of awesome. A personal buff that also gives 75 general mitigation to himself, which is neat. I wouldn't say it's really that big of a deal, because if your party needs general mitigation, your whole party's gonna have it because you have to have it. But it's neat, I guess. 3-stack Mirage for himself, LB damage, attack power, etc. So we knew this from the live stream, but a 40% fire field and a 30% ice field. It is on demand. It's included in multicast, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want to see. Also, he's got all this LB gauge fill stuff and pretty much all his moves. So kind of like Dwayne, well, most of his moves, kind of like Dwayne, Nora, etc. He's very easy to refill his LB gauge, which is absolutely awesome. 40% Great Sword and Fist in Peril, which is not full uptime, only 3, but it's a debuff, so really 4 turns out of 5. But he does have 35% in his LB as well, so he's always going to have 35%, but he's only going to have 40% for 4 out of 5 turns. He's got 85 breaks on demand for Magic Spirit, then attack and defense, and he's got 87% on his base form LB. Honestly speaking, you're probably never going to use the base form LB. It's relatively underwhelming. The shift form LB is significantly better. Although this one does have a 150 fire in peril, which is his best out of Clash of Wills. He's also got this, a 100% fire amp. I guess it's good as a backup for a secondary burst, etc. Also, I will mention, his 150 amp is locked behind EX2. Now that's a common thing for JP units. Global units have, for the most part, not been doing that. I guess now we are. So you really want this guy at EX2 because all his passives right here are also all locked behind EX2. But as far as his base kit, that's mostly it. Overall, both of these units do not have pretty much any party support at all, except for the imbue and then the Clash of Wills locked buffs. But all the killers they have, all their buffing, it's all self-only. Both of these are very, very selfish units. So keep that in mind. And the base form LB, we're not going to cover it too much because honestly, you're pretty much never going to use that. As far as his passives go, they're pretty good. We're going to assume you're EX2 because you really have to be EX2 for these units. 200 Omni Killer as expected, 300 Double Hand. He's got 6 times Chain Cap at EX2, which is awesome. Don't need any kind of gear for that. Chain Speed, I always love to see that. A lot of passives, guts. Very, very nice right there. His normal attack is a perfect dispel. Always great to have. Give him counterattack, and that can be done for free pretty often. He auto-casts morale per turn. Always convenient. And then in Clash of Wills only, keep this in mind, only in Clash of Wills, a 160 Fire Imperil and an 89 Full Break on a 5-turn cooldown. And then the Fire 100 Ramping Amplify. And that's his base form. Now, the shift form is mostly similar. A lot of the skills are shared, and then his skills over here, these are the only ones that are not tag chaining. So, this is a self-only human and demon mitigation. He's also got these, which are a 4,000 modifier attack against either a human or a demon. Pretty nice. Some self-killers. Keep in mind, these cannot be multicast, so these are single cast only. And then in the shift form, he's got this, a self-fire absorb for 1 turn, and then he imbues the party, he imbues all units for fire. So this is important here. He imbues everyone with fire, including the boss, but he only absorbs himself. He will not absorb the party. So that is very important to note. So you have to give your party fire immunity if you want this to make the boss's physical damage not hurt your party. It's very important to keep in mind. Shift form passes are all the same, including the Clash of Will stuff. And then his shifted LB is a 650 modifier tag chaining Extreme Nova AoE LB with a 35 Fist Imperil out of Clash of Wills. That is really nice. So 650 is about the standard for current day premiums on Dark Visions, but he has 650 on turn 1, no setup whatsoever. It does the Weapon Imperil on demand, or on the LB. It does the, it's tag chaining to Extreme Nova. It's a huge modifier. So just purely for convenience's sake, this guy is now like the best turn 1 OTK unit. I love that. I love that. A great farming unit. 650 LB, that Weapon Imperils for you. AoE tag chaining. Super good. Keep in mind he also has the chain speed up so that he's a better tag chainer. That's just really nice. And then in Clash of Wills, an 845 LB, which is pretty good. He has no LB modifiers in his kit whatsoever, which is actually honestly kind of nice because LB modifiers, all they really do is they just slow you down by forcing you to have to refresh them every few turns or do them before your burst. I'd much rather every unit be like this, where they have no modifiers in their kit. It's just the LB is good to go as is, and his is exactly like that. Just right out of the gate, full power LB. You can literally spam this every single turn if you fill his LB gauge, which is not too hard to do. But if you fill his LB gauge, you can do a max power damage from turn 1 all the way to turn 472. There you go. That being said, that's kind of all his kit. It's just mostly damage and a field, and the Weapon Imperils. That's kind of it. Now, the damage, let's go ahead and look at the damage breakdown. His damage is pretty good. This is some calculations for the current Clash of Wills boss. You can see Frost is pretty good as well up here. But in the current Clash of Wills, he's close to the top. Honestly, he's a little bit weaker than Ayabrea, mostly because Ayabrea has a 180 amplify. Hyoh does not, which is kind of strange to me, because you would think that the premium would have the 180 amp like Richt, etc., but he doesn't. He's only got a 150, so therefore Ayabrea actually does more, and of course Genesis with Hyoh's leader skill in Clash of Wills is ridiculous. But yeah, Hyoh does good damage, and then in Dark Visions, he's close to the top with, now this is, keep in mind, this is with Roka's leader skill. And on my spreadsheet, I always give everyone the best possible leader skill that they have access to, and he does have access to Roka's 750. Now, as far as will that be a realistic team, or will you go with a pure fire team and drop Roka? Then he dropped down a little bit, but it's still pretty good. Regardless of who his leader skill is, his own leader skill or someone else's, he's a really good damage dealer. His LB, I love his LB, the tag chaining extreme nova, super high modifier, no setup whatsoever required. I love that. But keep in mind, he is just a damage dealer for the most part. A good damage dealer, a easy to use damage dealer, very smooth. His passives are great, should gear very easily for any race whatsoever. But he is just a damage dealer, and as we know, we're coming into the Neovisions Plus pretty soon, at least 2 months away, but approximately 2 months. And we do know that Fire, based on JP, that can always change with global exclusives, but based on JP, Fire has no future after Neovisions Plus. It's all about either water or light parties. Those are the ones that are getting all the Neo Plus support. Fire just dies off. But again, that could easily change on global by the time we get there, so I just wanted to put that out there. But strictly speaking from JP, Fire has no future. But he's real good right now. And I really like the unit. I'm pretty happy with the unit. I'm definitely going to pull for him once servers come up. So I'm pretty pleased with him. He's good. Now, he might not last more than 2 months, and if that's the case, he'll definitely be good. He'll definitely be good until Neovisions Plus. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grab him. I like him a lot. There you go. Just a damage dealer. No real party support. The field is awesome too, though. The Imperil field. So there you go. Let's move to Solitary Warrior Veritas of the Frost. Again, the categories are kind of bad here. And this is actually a much bigger problem for Veritas of the Frost, especially in Dark Visions. Because Hyoh can go on either a team led by Vern, whatever, the Dragon Quest guy. It can be on a team led by himself, and that team is still competent. There's a lot of good fire units. Or it can go on a team led by Roka if you're going for the really big boy leader skill of 750. Whereas Veritas of the Frost has no leaders. The only leader that works with Veritas of the Frost is either Hyoh himself, which will buff Veritas of the Frost, or his own leader skill. And his own leader skill is not the greatest idea, in my opinion, because it's ice. And there's not a lot of secondary units for the ice party, whereas, Hyoh gets things like Genesis. There is no big boy ice damage dealer outside of the little cluster of Clash of Wills ice and fire units. It is Clash of Wills fire as well with him. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that it's a little bit more awkward of the leader skill here. But as far as the unit, it is an SLB unit. The stats are pretty good. A lot of resistances, a lot of immunities. That's great. The gear selection is pretty terrible here, and this is kind of a really unfortunate situation because, as funny as it is, Veritas of the Frost will not want to use katanas. You will want to go fist on this unit, and I'll show you why in a minute. But I really wish that you could use fists naturally, because you're basically going to want to often waste a materia slot for equip fist, because katanas do not have good access for one-handed katanas. By the way, he's a true dual-wield unit with the true dual-wield cap, so you are going to be dual-wielding on them. And as far as one-handed weapons, there's not good one-handed katanas. There's like the single Dark Visions katana, which is the only one that you can make. It's unique. And then there's the good weapons, your fist. So Riku's fist is the one you're going to want to dual-wield on him. Or maybe use like one Dark Visions one-handed katana and then one fist to activate his passive. Anyway, 150 amplify in all content, and then a bunch of breaks. 80 breaks, AOE, 85 break on single target on demand, stuff like that. He also has the LB fill thing, like Hyoh does. His field is just straight up worse. It's 40 ice, and that's it. No fire at all. It really feels like Veritas of the Frost is the second tier unit in this banner. Very similar to 2B and A2. You'll notice a lot of things on Veritas of the Frost are just worse than Hyoh. They really did want to make a underwhelming unit to go with the big prize of Hyoh. I wish they would have been equally good, but whatever. Yeah, so right there. And again, he has some self-support for ice and dark for his own imbues. Self-only, again, all of this self-only stuff, I wish some of this was AoE, but self-only human and demon killer. Perfect dispel on a 2-turn cooldown. Bolting strike, some morale fill. Here's his cooldown, and again, here's the thing, second-class citizen right here. Whereas Hyoh doesn't have to waste time with these irritating modifier buffs. Veritas of the Frost does, and they're not even full uptime. 5-turn cooldown, 3-turn duration for his modifier buffs. So yeah, they're adding a bunch of really awkward stuff into his kit. For Dark Visions, who cares? But for Clash of Wills, you're going to just have 2 out of 5 turns where you're doing subpar damage. Because why? At the very least, if you're going to do this, make it full uptime like Aya Brea. Aya Brea has the exact same skill, but hers is a full uptime. It's a 3-turn cooldown, 3-turn duration. This is a partial uptime. I don't know what the point of that was. This is a premium unit, and they're building nerfs into the kit for a premium freaking unit. Why do they do this? It's so irritating. For Dark Visions, we've got an 89 defense and Spirit Break and a 150 in Peril. Again, why are we doing this? This is like a dedicated breaker, and he's got a 150 as his best in Peril. We've got 160s on units as far back as Lion or Laguna or Yish. And all these units have 160 in Perils, and we've got only 150 on Veritas of the Frost. Now, I do realize that he's got the field as well, so it's a grand total of 190 in Dark Visions. But this is a premium breaker. Why couldn't it be a 160? Stupid Elespirus has 160 plus the field, so Elespirus has a grand total of 200. But the premium breaker has only 150. I don't know why. Again, there's so much of this in Veritas of the Frost's kit. They just built in these little penalties and handicaps. And it's unnecessary, and I wish they wouldn't do this kind of stuff. But yeah, there it is. And as far as his passives, they're pretty good. True Dual Wielder, he's got the 8 times chain cap right there. He's got the full cap while dual wielding. That's awesome. Chain speed, always love to see that. Now, we do have this, which is unfortunate, the attack power with Katana, because as I mentioned, you're going to want to go Fist on him, not Katana, because the Fist are just better weapons than Katanas, but his passive is kind of pushed onto Katana. But honestly, I still think his best build is going to be Double Fist, not Katana. We'll see. And yeah, he absorbs ice damage permanently, which is kind of awesome, so, always absorbing ice damage. His normal attack is right here. It is not a perfect dispel. I wish it was. This is, again, Hyoh gets perfect dispel on his normal attack, but the dedicated breaker does not. Even Kaito had perfect dispel on his normal attack, but Veritas of the Frost doesn't. Yet again, they're just building in more and more handicaps. I don't know why. He does autocast 50% physical, human, and demon mitigation on the battle start. Convenient, definitely nice to have, probably for this Clash of Wills. In Clash of Wills only, he's got a 89 break with partial uptime. He does have the 164 Clash of Wills only, but again, this is just worse than Elespirus, because Elespirus had a 170 in Clash of Wills. So why is the premium unit just worse? This unit really should not have been premium. It really shouldn't have been. If it was a normal unit, I'd be fine with it. But they're charging premium prices for a weaker unit. I do not like that. Arcane Supplementation, as we know, can imbue ice on the party, which is great. And then the LB and SLB are basically the same thing. The SLB just has better numbers. So the LB only breaks defense and spirit, 87, no attack magic, 35 here. And then an SLB we upgrade to 89 defense and spirit, and then 85 attack and magic with 40 katana and peril, some self buffing, and then 500 modifier. So 500 right here, plus 50 in dark vision, so a 550 modifier in dark visions, and then a 800 modifier in Clash of Wills. Then again, we'll go look at the spreadsheet. So damage in Clash of Wills is pretty good. Pretty good damage in Clash of Wills, I got to admit here. This is for the ice element, but it is non-elemental, so you can imbue any element you want. It is really good. And then Dark Vision's damage is definitely lower, but still really high. Still really high. So that is, you know, as much as I've complained about the unit, the damage is still very good in in Dark Visions, assuming you give him a leader skill. This is with his own leader skill, which is only a 650 for ice, and I think it's for fire as well, though. Clash fire. Yeah, Clash fire as well. So ice, Clash ice, and Clash fire. So, yeah, if you do his leader skill instead of Hyoh's leader skill, which is 600, you are going to be losing Genesis. And losing Genesis is ouch. Big ouch. Big painful. But yeah, so the unit, I mean, overall, even though they obviously built in a bunch of handicaps just to, I don't know, irritate us for whatever reason, it's still a really good unit. Still a really good unit. I just really wish they didn't just pick and choose like 5 skills to just make strictly worse than already existing non-premium units. Like his modifier buff is just worse than Ayabrea's. His imperils are just worse than Elaspirus's. Stuff like that. Also, I really wish he didn't have only katana and spear access, because you're going to want to go double fist on him pretty much always as long as Hyoh is in the party. And because of the leader skill situation, Hyoh's probably going to be in the party and leading the party if you're using Veritas of the Frost. But yeah. So overall, both units are pretty good. I do think Hyoh is the better unit here, although because Veritas of the Frost does have the 89 breaks, that might last longer after both of their damage fades away during the Neo Visions Plus era. This 89 break for Dark Visions might give Veritas of the Frost an even bigger lifespan. We'll have to see. Although it doesn't, you know, he doesn't really do anything for water, but you could stick him on a party or something. And also to note, is Veritas of the Frost does not have the Clash of Wills support tag, so you cannot put him on all the other Clash of Wills parties for a leader skill. It's only Clash of Wills Ice. There is no support tag here. He does have the general Clash of Wills, so you know, Elena will work fine. But you know, you can't put him on like a Tyvis or a Roka party and get a leader skill. Anyway, decent units. So there you go. So tomorrow I'll be live streaming Clash of Wills. I'll definitely be doing some polls for at least for Hyoh. And of course, I do want Veritas of the Frost as well. He's a good unit. You know, there's some things I'd really wish were different, but it's still a good unit overall. And I definitely want both of them, but Hyoh's the one that I really want. So, okay. There it is. I will see you guys tomorrow for Clash of Wills. See you then.